Very good evening to everybody. First of all, thank you so much for coming to this live session presented by Aussizz. And I'll begin this presentation by introducing myself. My name is Rajiv, and I'm a registered migration agent who is based out at Aussizz Mawson Lakes branch in Adelaide. And today, we are going to discuss a topic, that is parent visa and long-term tourist visa options for parents. And I feel this is one topic that everybody can resonate to because even though a lot of us have migrated to Australia, but that desire to stay with our loved ones will never go. And we are always finding pathways which will enable us um, our loved ones to live with us. So today, I will share with you what are the options available and what are we looking at. Uh, but before that, let me introduce a few of the options. Let me introduce Aussizz. Aussizz is well known to everybody, and few of the products that I want to introduce is Aussizz as group as such can help you with your PT tutorials or IELTS preparation, or we can also help you with OSHC insurance or OVHC insurance. At the same time, if you are somebody who is looking for NATI skills preparation, we can help you with that. We can help you with professional here, or also we have a latest app that's launched called OcuSearch. So this will help you. This is like a one-stop shop of information of any skilled visa. So you can come to know what are the requirements for Queensland or what are the requirements for New South Wales, or visa availability options. This is where OcuSearch can add a lot of value to your entire migration journey. So let's get back to the main topic, coming to parent visas. The structure of this presentation is going to be like we are going to first discuss the permanent visa option for parents, and then we are going to discuss the temporary visa options. So, so let's go step by step, looking at the first part of the presentation. So when we are looking at permanent visa options, this is a parent visa matrix that's here, and it's pretty much self-explanatory that when we are looking at parent visa options, we are mainly classifying at visa options that can be lodged in Australia and that can be lodged outside Australia. And one of the main criteria for onshore, that is a visa that can be lodged in Australia, is that the parent should be aged. And the definition of aged is if one of the parent, not both, if one of the parent is born after 1955, they should be at least 67 years to be eligible to apply this visa onshore, provided there is nothing that stops them from lodging it. So there are several bars also, or hindrances that may not let this application be lodged onshore. But generally speaking, this is a major criteria for age is a major criteria for the visa, parents' visa, to be lodged onshore. And amongst this onshore visa, there is a expensive option and there is a less expensive option. So an expensive option is called as the contributory visa. That means you are contributing a big chunk of money. You're paying a hefty fees to fast track your application time. Whereas the non-contributee can take a very long time for the visa to be processed. And it may go up to 30 years. As per the information that's released by the department as of 31st of July 2023, it has a very long wait time. Similarly, if your parent is not aged, then that means they cannot lodge the parent visa onshore, and it has to be lodged outside of Australia. And even that, there is a contributory paid option and there is a non-contributory. So these are the 3 digits that you see here in the presentation is just the number, that is what is what. So if you want, you can take a screenshot or whatever to remember the number. But as we go through the presentation, it will become more and more clear. As I said from the previous matrix, I mean, we discussed about the long processing time, and we discussed about the age, that is a big requirement. But then in some instances, uh, non-aged parent visa can be lodged onshore, but they will never be given a bridging visa for that one. I mean, it's just that they can lodge, but they cannot stay here, with the help of bridging visa. Uh, so, as I said, as per the data released on 31st July 2023, uh, for a contributory parent visa, they are looking at an application with due date up to May 2027. And for parent visas, which are non-contributory, they are looking at a parent visa's due date up to October 2011. So, as per the information released by the department, a contributory parent visa processing time can be approximately 12 years as of current, whereas for a non-contributory one, it may take up to 30 years. But you would wonder that if you're looking at an application uh, which has a due date of May 2017, and how come and we are in 2023, so how come the processing time is 12 years? So an important criteria here to look into is every year these parent visas are subject to capping. So a maximum of only 8,500 visas can be lodged per year. So that's why it gets rolled over to the next year and rolled over to the next year, and that's why it has an increased processing time. So some of the key points that why the processing time is high is because changing in the planning levels, or how many visa applications are submitted, how many are queued, how many are basically goes to AAT for remittance. If there are any ministerial intervention cases, so there are also they are subject to capping and queuing. So there are a number of factors that affect the processing time. So now, for permanent visas to be lodged, for the permanent parent visas to be lodged, there are some important criteria that needs to be satisfied. And few criteria are that a child should be an eligible child who should be able to sponsor. Okay, and when we say eligible child, the child should be Australian citizen, or New Zealand, or an eligible New Zealand citizen, or an Australian permanent resident, and they should have been living in Australia for the last 2 years. So this is where they say, I mean, the child should be an eligible child should be a settled person. Uh, for a successful application, a balance of family test should also be satisfied. I mean, I will discuss what is balance of family test in the next slide. And also, the parents have to meet the health and the character requirements. They should be in good health. At the same time, no character issues, no police issues, no convictions. Not no. I mean, it has to be studied if there are some. It has to be dealt case to case. So now, a definition of what is an eligible child. An eligible child is somebody who is an Australian citizen, or a permanent resident, or an eligible New Zealand citizen. At the same time, any other child, would be an ineligible child. And even when we are doing a balance of family test, only eligible children are counted. You'll come to know. I mean, we'll discuss it more in the next slide. So the parent should meet the balance of family test. At the same time, if they should be old enough, that means they should be at least 67 years old if they are born after 1955. There is a small concession if they are born before. So, but minimum, I mean, for 6 months, or probably 1 year shorter, provided on the year they are born, but it has to be looked into case to case. Uh, I mean, at the same time, for a successful visa, they have to meet health and character requirements, and an assurance of support will be required. They should be an eligible Australian child should be able to lodge a refundable bond. And see, people when you're looking at a contributory parent visa, because of the cost involved, it can also be a two-stage visa. So, for example, an onshore contributory parent visa 864 can be divided into two stages. That is 884 and 864. So, an 884 is lodged, and once it is granted, the parent will get for 2 years of time to lodge to lodge the stage two, that is 864. So just to clarify, one way is to directly apply for 864 or apply in two stages, that is 884, and then you apply the 864. So now an important criteria is the balance of family test. And this balance of family test applies to all permanent visas, whether it is a 103, that is, whether it is offshore or onshore, aged, non-aged, everything. So all parents' visas, balance of family test is applicable. Now, who are counted in this balance of family test? So assuming your parent as a couple, so all the children, including stepchildren and adopted children, are counted in the family of in the balance of family test. And for it to be successful, only eligible children are counted. That means who are citizen or um, or permanent resident or eligible New Zealand citizen. And it is required that at least 50% of the children should be eligible children living in Australia, or a maximum number of children should be living in Australia. So, for example, uh, I mean, this is a case of this is the case of a couple, assuming you have many children. But just let's look at the last one. Assuming there are 5 children, and 3 are living permanently in Australia, and 2 are living in a country another A, like outside anywhere else. Yes, they meet the balance of family criteria. Whereas assuming they have 6 children, 2 are living in Australia, 2 are living in country A, and 2 are living in country B, the balance of family test is not satisfied. So this is just a very basic interpretation of how it is looked upon. But every case has to be studied, and then a detailed advice can be later, if you have any specific case. So, important things to consider are that parent visas are permanent visas, and who are this visa is applicable or can be granted to parents of a child who is a settled Australian citizen, permanent resident, or an eligible New Zealand citizen. They have to satisfy all the Schedule 1, Schedule 2 criteria. Schedule 1, Schedule 2 is basically the requirement for the valid application, at the same time the grant criteria. They have to satisfy the age criteria if relevant, the health and character, and the balance of family test. Uh, at the same time, if an application is lodged onshore, uh, that is a visa subclass 173, 143, 103, they will not be eligible for a bridging visa. At the same time, a contributory visa is basically a large sum of money that is contributed upon application. But at the same time, initially you just have to pay like 10%, so like 4,700 currently, and remaining 42,000 is a stage two visa application fee that's paid later, at the time of grant. So yeah, you don't have to pay the entire 47,000 in one go. Now, I think I briefly discussed about assurance of support. So assurance of support is a refundable bond. in which an assurer agrees to pay social security payments that is claimed by the visa applicant, or members. So in case they claim anything, so this is more like a bond that's with the government, and then the assurer agrees to repay it. So if the parents claim many of the benefits, like special benefit, new start allowance, widow allowance, mature age allowance, or any of the allowance, so the assurer agrees to repay the social security payment. Now, all parents' visas have mandatory assurance of support. It has to be lodged, and it can vary anywhere between 5,000 to 15,000. And we cannot know the amount before. It's just that at the time of application, sorry, at the time of decision, the Centrelink lets us know. Now, we discussed the permanent visa options. Now we are going to see. It may also happen that not everybody has the amount of money that's involved in a parent visa, in a permanent, in a contributory visa, or not everybody can satisfy the balance of family test, or due to some reason, they are not able to lodge permanent parent visa application. So another visa, like, okay, the another option is, yes, tourist visa, and I'm not going to discuss tourist visa because everybody knows what is tourist visa. So, but then if you don't want your parent to go in and out frequently, and you are not in a situation where you can lodge a permanent visa, but you want your parent to live with you in Australia for the next 3 years or 5 years, then this is a good option, because this visa is basically, it responds to the community concern about having limited number of parent places, because as I said, permanent parent visa options are subject to capping, and it's a very long wait time, and you want your parent to live with you, so this is a good option. Here also, it's a temporary sponsored visa, so a sponsorship has to be approved first. So if you are the sponsor, that means the child needs to be an Australian citizen, permanent resident, or an eligible New Zealand citizen to be able to sponsor your parent, and the parent must be either biological or adoptive or step parent of the sponsor of the child, basically. At the same time, if you have a stepfather or a step mother, they are eligible to apply if they are still in a married relationship with your biological parent. So that's also a criteria to be looked at. Balance of family test is not applicable to this visa, because definitely, as I said, this visa is the answer to people who cannot lodge a permanent visa. So balance of family test doesn't apply to this visa. At the same time, the applicants, that is the parent, needs to be sponsored. It should be an approved sponsor. So basically, the sponsorship needs to be approved first, and then visa has to be lodged. At the same time, parents have to satisfy the identity, health, and the character requirements, and they must hold or maintain health insurance for the entire period, that is 3 year or 5 year. And the cost of the visa is, for a 3-year visa, it is $5,735 Australian dollars, and for a 5-year visa, it is $11,470 for a 5-year duration visa. So this is just the visa fee, but there is also a sponsorship fee, which I will tell you later in the next slide. But yes, there is a separate fee for the sponsorship as well. Now, this visa 870 is also subject to capping, so it's only limited to 15,000 visas per year. And the thing is that the total maximum duration that can be availed on this visa is 10 years. So it can be granted. It can be granted for a second time also, but then the total duration. So suppose if it is granted for 5 years in the first year, then the maximum duration that can be granted is 5 years in the next attempt. At the same time, if the first 5 years is over, then the parent must be offshore. and there should be a gap of 90 consecutive days before making a second visa. So also, when they are holding this visa, parents cannot work. So a condition 8103 will be applied, will be imposed on this visa. Again, 870 is a multiple entry visa. They can stay here for a long duration, that is 3 years or 5 years, and multiple entries are allowed. Uh, Now, what are the sponsorship requirements? Now, these sponsorship requirements apply uh, to the sponsor. So they should be biological, adoptive, or a stepchild of the parent. They should have a valid identity. They should be an Australian citizen, permanent resident, or an eligible New Zealand citizen. They should be an adult, that is 18 years or more. They have been living here in Australia for the last 4 years. So note, uh, living 4 years is a requirement, and 2 years being in settled Australian is a requirement in a permanent visa. Now, for the 870 visa, the sponsor also has to meet an income requirement. I mean, it is to show to the department that you have the sufficient money or the income capacity to take care of your parents. So, which is approximately 90,000. I mean, I'll likely come to the next slide. Uh, you should accept any legal liability for any outstanding public debt, or for their sponsored parent. At the same time, the sponsorship fee is $420, and you should be of good character, so you have to provide an AFP with complete disclosure. So the income, sponsors should have a taxable income of 83,454.80 cents. So this is the requirement. In case if single child is not able to meet this requirement, he or she can combine this income with their spouse or de facto partner or another child of the parent. So the income can be combined. Uh, Now, another last thing that I want to stress about this visa is that this at one time, one household can only have two members that can be sponsored. So you can have, like a child can have two of his or her parents, or one of his or her parent and one of the partner's parent. So in case two are already sponsored, then they need to withdraw the sponsorship of one of the parent, and when it's withdrawn, the applicant whose sponsorship is withdrawn needs to exit Australia, and then a new sponsorship needs to be added in order to sponsor the new parent. But the but at one time, only two parents can be sponsored. So this is also a cap here. So all good. If there are any questions, so I'm more than happy to answer. I want to assume that the presentation was very self-explanatory and then pretty easy to understand. So looks like, are there any questions? All right. So looks like there are no more questions. So in case if you want to reach me, just you can get in touch with Aussizz Group Mawson Lakes in Adelaide, and that's it. Thank you. Thank you so much.